All right, well, what's good, YouTube? It's Jay back with another reaction. I know it's been a few days since I posted a reaction video. I've been catching up on some other content for some of the other channels and stuff that I run, and editing the vlog that I've got planned for my first ever MLS playoff match that I went to about a week ago, maybe. Damn, it's been a minute actually. But today we're reacting to how one rule changed football salaries forever. And just as an FYI, I will be going to the FC Cincinnati versus Inter Miami game this coming Sunday. That'll be my 30th birthday as well. Hit that like and sub button if you want to see more reactions and in celebration of my 30th birthday. But yeah, I'm gonna get a chance to go watch Inter Miami play Cincinnati. That'll be really cool. But in any case, let's get to this one. I want to step away from more videos for a bit about like the Messi Ronaldo stuff. A lot of people are kind of getting tired of that, which is fully understandable. And it is kind of time to kind of dive back into understanding football a little bit more. So yeah, let's do this.
This is the highest yearly salary of a football player in 1992. And when you move just 9 years after that, the highest salary rose to almost 10 times of what it was during that time.
Was it really 10K?
I want you to look at these Champions League winners in the past. Until 1995, you would see clubs like these also won the cup. But after that year, apart from Porto, it's all the well-known clubs who are winning constantly. So what happened around 95 that made this drastic change? What if I tell you it was all because of this one single rule that was named after this player who spent his entire life fighting for it? A rule that if it didn't existed, then Mbappe to Madrid might not have happened. Messi could have still been wearing Barca colors. And weirdly, Ronaldo might have played for Arsenal in his 20s instead of United. And even today, all these top players you are seeing might not move to Saudi Arabia that easily. So, what is this rule all about? And how it made footballers some of the highest paid athletes, while the man who made it possible was left broke.
I live on 570.45 euros per month, so yes, it's not easy.
This is the story of the Bosman ruling.
What did the Bosman ruling do for football? The Bosman ruling allowed a player to leave a club on a free transfer.
From 1990 to 1995,
on a free transfer, okay.
Bosman banned from playing by the Belgian Federation.
FIFA,
Damn.
UEFA, whoever you are, you're wrong.
You're wrong. The rule that turned footballers millionaires. Footballers millionaires.
Before we move ahead, I want to quickly introduce the sponsor of today's video. You see, how is it that almost every pass from players like Iniesta, De Bruyne, or Modric landed in exactly the right place and at the right time?
Because they're incredible.
Their passing technique. The real reason is they were some of the greatest observers on the pitch. Instead of watching the ball all the time, they scanned the field constantly, then made the right decision to find the best option. Their mind was trained in such a way that scanning the pitch and picking the perfect pass became second nature. And today, to help you develop that same skill, Be Your Best is building a VR training tool that puts you inside real game scenarios, where you get to train your awareness, scan the pitch, and make smarter passing decisions, all without even stepping on the field. And if you combine this with your physical training, your passing game can improve much faster. It's already being used by top academies and professional footballers who have seen a greater increase in their scanning and decision-making on the pitch. So
see a Seattle Sounders logo in there.
Quest headset, and then you can dive in at BeYourBest.com, where you can use my promo code DK20 to get a discount of 20% on your first month or first year subscription. So just
3,000? Holy
to get started. The link is also in the description. Also, a huge thanks to Be Your Best for making this video possible.
3,000 is crazy. I feel like it wouldn't just be better to just play and kind of get used to it the old-fashioned way. I don't know. I'm not a judge.
When you look at the player transfers during the starting days of football, just how we play football on the weekends with our friends while working our regular jobs or schools during the week, that's exactly what life was like for footballers back then, as there were no transfer fees or long contracts like we see today.
Playing football in this fit is insane. Not that they could help it, obviously this is a different era, but this is a crazy footballer fit.
As there were no transfer fees or long contracts like we see today, and most clubs were run by factories or local businesses, whose owner would hire a player to first do the factory job for the living, and then on weekends, that same player would suit up and play for the company team. Just imagine Ronaldo playing for Madrid on the weekend, but on weekdays, he's working in some factory in Madrid. But as football started to gain popularity and more money,
what are these AI videos?
A few wealthy companies started to take advantage of it and attracted all the best players away from the smaller and mid-level clubs. This made those smaller clubs think, hey, if this keeps happening, we might have to shut down our football teams altogether and spend our money on other sports instead. And the football organizers heard this and thought if this tension grows, it may lead football being only a rich sports and will never grow around the masses. So in
you don't
1885,
want.
the Football League introduced something called the retain and transfer system. This allowed clubs to sign players on proper contracts. So now you don't have to do some extra work to be paid. You just need to focus on your football and get paid at the same time. But here's the catch. Even when your contract ended, the club still owned you. And if another team wanted to sign you, they had to first pay a transfer fee that matched whatever your current club demanded, and then you are free to leave. Yeah, this may sound crazy, right? But this was done to spread the money across multiple clubs and help football grow into a global game. And
Yeah,
the
that makes
system
sense.
went on for almost a century. But as you know in life, with every given rule, some will always try to use it in their own way. And as a result, there was a club in Belgium that would about to do that. In 1990, RFC Liège, a club in the Belgian league, had a midfielder named Jean-Marc Bosman, whose contract was about to expire just a few months ago, and he refused to sign a new contract with them. As luckily for him, this club from France offered him a much better deal than what Liège was giving. So naturally, Bosman was excited to join his next club once his contract ends. But suddenly, just days before the expiry of his contract, his current club made a shocking move. They demanded a huge transfer fee from Dunkirk, which was way higher than they anticipated. So the French club refused to pay this, and the deal never happened. And for Bosman, things got even worse. His contract expired, but under the retain and transfer rule, he still couldn't leave. But here it gets interesting.
That's
Bosman's club
insane.
thought, well, if he doesn't want to play for us and his contract has expired, we don't need to pay him the full amount anymore. Let's just give him 25% of it and push him into the reserve team until some club finally pays the transfer fee we want. And
So you were just perma-locked into these clubs until they could decide to do whatever they wanted with you? That is actually kind of insane. I can't believe that wasn't illegal earlier.
And that decision drastically cut down Bosman's salary from 500 euros per week to only 100. And he was dropped from the first team and forced to train with the reserves. And here's the scary part. If no one agrees a deal with the current club, Bosman has to live like this for years. So if you are in this situation, you only have two options. Either humbly request your club to renew your contract at the same wage, or just wait and hope someone would eventually pay that massive fee that your club wants from you. But for Bosman, he didn't choose either of them and went on to take the most dangerous route.
The law.
In 1990, Bosman approached two lawyers and sued his club, his national federation, and even the UEFA, which meant all of them were dragged into the court. So on one side, you have Bosman's lawyer arguing that
the players are not a property of someone, and no club should stand as an obstacle when the contract is ended.
While on the other side, you have the organizations arguing,
this rule is necessary to maintain financial balance across multiple clubs and avoids the sport becoming a monopoly.
But at the same time, you can't just have full ownership of somebody either, because then, unironically, you're literally monopolizing that. Well, not really. I guess it's just, you have full ownership of that person, even when they're not allowed to play anymore, when their contract is over. Like, wow, that's insane.
And both these arguments had strong points, and the court struggled to make a quick decision. So the case kept dragging on. And unfortunately for Bosman, who thought this case would over within 15 days, but it ended up dragging on for 5 long years.
We don't know when we can expect a judgment of the court. Just our guess would be that at the beginning of next year, we could have the judgment.
And over those 5 years, Bosman lost everything. He was banned by the Belgian Federation from playing in his own country. And because his name was constantly in the legal headlines, most clubs were too scared to even approach him. So from the age of 26 till the age of 31, Bosman spent more time inside a courtroom than on a football pitch, just hoping one day the fight he is fighting will finally benefit him and every single football players on the pitch.
He's doing a great job. I mean, he's fighting for his rights already since years, and some help. And we really hope that he's going to be successful.
Of current football clubs get into the real world. They want to sign a player, they sign him, give him a contract, give him a 3-year, give him a 5-year, give him a 10-year contract. But when it's over, it's over. They can't get any more money for that player.
That's so evil, man.
On the 15th of December 1995, that hope finally arrived when the court announced its decision.
L'article 48 du traité CE
So in the end, the judge decided to take the side of Bosman and said,
"We have decided to cancel the old transfer and retain rule, so now any player is free to move to another club after the end of the contract."
Which
without
makes
the current
sense.
clubs asking money for themselves.
Yeah,
And
that makes
along with
sense.
they also canceled the UEFA's old 3+2 rule, as that rule used to meant if you are a French club, you could only field a maximum of 3 foreign players in European competitions, plus 2 more if they had been in the country for a while. But with the rule gone, you are now free to play any numbers of European players into their team, since they come under the EU policy. And
So that's why there's so many different international players on different teams now. That makes sense. For a very long time, I was wondering why there's so many different international teams or players on, you know, say in this case, like French specific squads, or in the case of like Real Madrid, you know, you've got French players. Barcelona has had lots of Brazilian players over the last, like, you know, couple decades, specifically South American players and so forth. But that's interesting. Okay, so that's when that rule came into play. I think I remember reading a comment somewhere mentioning that before, where you can only have up to 3 international players, aside from the additional 2 players. But yeah, wow, that's interesting.
And these 2 judgments will about to turn football in a ways you never imagined. Right after the Bosman ruling, the football economy exploded. The total value of player transfers jumped from around 400 million in 1994 to a massive 1.7 billion by 99.
Jesus.
And the highest weekly salary of a player went from 10,000 to 100,000 in just 8 years. Just think of it. If you were a club before Bosman and you had 100,000 to sign a player, you couldn't just give it all to him. You'd have to split it and maybe give half to the selling club as a transfer fee and the other half to the player. However, after Bosman, if that player's contract is about to expire, you just have to wait for that to end and just give the entire 100K to that player without his club acting as a middleman. So now millions of dollars that used to go to transfer fees were now flowing directly into the pockets of footballers. And due to
That makes
this,
sense.
if you have a player who could earn way more once his contract expires, you have to offer him an even better deal to convince him to stay. So for the player, there are now multiple options on the table, and to make sure they choose the best one, they started hiring agents who could negotiate between the current club and the interested club and secure the best possible deal while taking a commission for themselves. And the famous example of this is Wayne Rooney at Man United when he refused to extend his deal. So Sir Alex had no choice but to publicly fight back, and in the end, United were forced to hand Rooney one of the biggest contracts in England at the time.
They are so wrong, this is frightening. If Alex Ferguson is being bullied by a player and his agent, or whatever how you want to call it, how wrong is the game?
So the Bosman ruling gave players freedom, but it also created a world where contracts became weapons and the agents became the true power brokers of football. And this is not it. When you see the history of the Champions League winner, the reason these small clubs used to win it in the past was actually due to their immense pool of young talents they used to nurture in the academy. But suddenly, with all these young talents are free to leave, the rich clubs with their financial power were able to attract them easily, forcing the smaller clubs to start all over again.
So it did become monopolized, sort of. It sort of did become monopolized. Wow. I know a lot of you have kind of told me that a lot of these bigger clubs really aren't like what the smaller clubs are. But if it's because of this rule, now it makes sense. Like on one hand, it's like a fair rule in the way that you shouldn't be able to just forever attach a player to a dead contract, a dead team, basically. But on the other hand, it basically is going to rob that club pretty much of as much money necessary if they want to keep a very good player, you know? And they get nothing in return. That's insane.
All over again. So to keep up with these giants, the small clubs began taking loans and spending way beyond their budgets. And in doing so, many of these clubs drowned into debts and some even went bankrupt. So in order to stop these clubs destroying themselves, UEFA introduced the FFP rule, which basically means if you are a football club and make 100 million in a season by selling, then you can't spend more than 100 million on buying new players that same season. So this rule not only saved the small clubs from overspending, but it also restricted the powerful clubs from simply injecting unlimited money from outside investors. But even with this in place, when we take a step back and just imagine a world where there was no Bosman rule and then see it in a both positive and a negative lens, you might still see some of these clubs reaching the final stages of the Champions League. And strangely, young Ronaldo would be playing for a different club, as Sporting could get more time and ask for a better transfer fee instead of just agreeing 12 million from United due to the fear of losing him for free. While Messi to PSG may not happen, as Barcelona could ask for a huge deal even after Messi's contract expires, making him retire his career in Barcelona's colors or just directly play for Inter Miami. And similarly, Mbappe, who patiently waited for his PSG contract to expire and then joined Madrid with a huge signing bonus and wages. Without the Bosman, Madrid would have had to cut those bonuses and salaries to afford a transfer fee acceptable to PSG, which could have easily kept him in Paris. And finally, when you look at the movement of these players today, yes, there wouldn't be many going to Saudi Arabia. The reason for that is they would have to pay additional funds to the European clubs just to make these stars eligible to play for them. However, what about the man who actually made these stars get these unthinkable deals? Unfortunately, after winning the case in 1995, Bosman was out of top-level football after getting blacklisted, so he was completely broke and used to live on government support to survive. And over time, he fell deeper into depression and alcoholism, which eventually led to a prison sentence after a domestic violence case in 2013. But still, after all of this, Bosman doesn't regret the ruling. He's proud of what it did for footballers, but he also admitted,
"I would have preferred someone else had fought it. I paid the price."
And this
Damn, that's kind of sad, man.
How one person can step up from the herds to challenge the system and then get attacked, threatened, or even banned by the masses, and yet still end up changing the whole system and allowing the majorities to benefit from it. So today, every time you see a star player signing huge contracts or walk for free to a bigger club, a little gratitude to Bosman from them would truly make his huge sacrifice meaningful.
That is so sad, man.
I won the trial on December the 15th, 1995. I thought I was reaching the end of the tunnel, but I was actually entering it.
Wow, that's actually really sad. But I want to hear some comments down below explaining this in a little bit more depth, just to make sure we're kind of making sure these values are aligned correctly. But that being said, though, it is kind of crazy how much money goes into the sports ecosystem. I mean, I look at the contracts over here in America for like the NBA, the NFL. It's insane how much money a pro athlete can make now. I don't know how like the transfer fees and all that kind of stuff work over here, or when you buy out contracts. Even in esports, you can buy out contracts for a significant amount. You know, a team can deny a certain amount goes to the players, etc. It's crazy how much money really goes into the entirety of the sports ecosystem, man, no matter what sport it is, especially football. I always thought it was insane, some of the bonuses I saw that some of these players could sign for, man. You'll have a fraction of that cash right now in my pocket and pay off some of these student loans. I do find the like deep dives into the structure of football as a whole super interesting. That was just really fun to kind of do, man. Learn more about the sport outside of legendary moments, legendary players, and incredible highlights. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought about the video in the comments down below. Give me a little bit more insight on this also in the comments down below. And hey, this is your boy Jay with another reaction. I'll bet you have a great day. Peace.